I know Board Game Geek often gives it, 0 to 10. And is this a 10 game? No, unfortunately it's not. It's more like a 13 or 14 or 15. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin from Justin and Max Games, and today we're going to be doing a review for Cooper Island. Now, you may be wondering, where is Max? Once again, he's doing math homework or something like that, so hopefully he'll be back before long. I promise you, he still likes board games, I hope. Anyway, I'm just going to start off with my rating for Cooper Island, just to give you an idea of what I'm considering this game. Now, I know Board Game Geek often gives it, 0 to 10. And is this a 10 game? No, unfortunately it's not. It's more like a 13 or 14 or 15. It is absolutely mind-blowingly good. It's actually made me rethink everything I thought I knew about what board games could bring to a game, what can bring to your life, I should say. In some ways, it's made me rethink life itself. What do I mean by this? Well, this game basically says, well, you have 4 different long-term objectives, your ambitions, let's call them. And, well, you kind of plan. I'd like to get to that. That's my ambition right there. That's my goal. Maybe one of those couple of things. How do I get there? Just like in life, you have an ambition, something that you want to achieve. And then over the course of the game, you realize, well, it's not so easy to achieve those things. In fact, maybe based upon what I have to change my plan a little bit. Or perhaps I could strategize and manipulate and politicize and figure out other ways of still achieving those objectives. In fact, sometimes, as in life, your objectives may change. Now let me talk about a couple other things before I get into my more detailed portion of this review. How do I come to games? How do I choose what I want? I watch some videos and so forth, but it just seems like these days everything seems exciting. Everything is new, everything is shiny, and then games come and go, and you get great reviews, and then something else comes its way. Well, for me, this is a once-in-a-lifetime game, and why did I choose this one over all of the other games that are out these days? And of course, I buy a lot of other games. The designer. Now, I actually haven't played a game by this designer before. But when researching about the designer, I realized that he collaborated with one of my other favorite designers, probably my other favorite designer up until this point. So the designer for Cooper Island is Andreas Odendahl. I think I'm pronouncing that right, yeah? It sounds like a Swedish name, but I think he's a German game designer. Nonetheless, so my favorite game up until this time in my life is Agra. And still, I couldn't imagine it supplanting Cooper Island, but it's still a fantastic, unbelievable game. And I think I've never done a review for this game, probably because I played it before I did reviews, but nonetheless. So I found out that Mike Keller, who designed Agra, my favorite game up until this point, also combined efforts with Andreas Odendahl and a game called Lagrania, which I know has a lot of accolades and a lot of people I know like it, and it's probably one of the more popular games of this sort of heavier branch. And I started learning this game, and I haven't played it yet. I played Agra a billion times, but I haven't played Lagrania as of yet. But nonetheless, I ended up saying, well, if he combined efforts with him, I bet he's a good designer on his own, And then I found Cooper Island, which wasn't entirely designed by Odendahl. I'm glad I made that series of thought decisions because, man, it's the most interesting game I own. You're constantly using your mind in ways that you haven't used it before. If, the rule book, and there's been a lot of accolades about that, the rule book for a heavier game is laid out wonderfully. And let me also start, the art is also beautiful. It really encourages the theme of the game, but doesn't ever get in the way. It's all very clear, that the components are clear, love it all. And the rule book is wonderful, but I actually would have done the rule book in a different order. Because usually in a game where you have worker placements, because there are 4 main spots on the game to generate resources, and then there's 4 other spots where you're going to be using those resources to do things, to build, to expand your peninsula. However, the most interesting part of the game comes on page 16, which is the whole series of... Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. It's even later. It's even later. It's page 20. I would have put this page, it's the kind of this purplish, pinkish page, an aubergine page, if you would. I would have put that right in front, because the most interesting part of the game is the stuff that you can do at any time. Now, there's very few games that allow you to do things basically anytime you want to, there's one tiny restriction, which also makes sense. Most games say, you could do this before or after an action, or you can't interrupt your action, or during the cleanup phase you can or cannot do this. Nuh-uh. In this game, it's this area, this marketplace that's at the bottom of your board, and also the cards that you get that you can flip, the bigger buildings, and also the cartographer, which you could do at any time once per action, including when you're getting income. I don't even know where to start, really. But it's the thing that you could do at any time that makes this game really shine. Because as you're doing an action, and the worker placement, I almost feel like it's sort of blasé. Build a building. Build a boat. If you have a better worker, you can get some deductions. Get some points for this thing. Put down a tile. Very simple things. But it's the machinations that you make between and before.
I'm going to get a point for this. So therefore, I have to have room because my boat is going to move on the score track, which is also part of the game. The score track is also part of the game. I'm going to move this boat from one place to another, and therefore I need space, so I have to use the things that are on my boat so that I can have space to store these things because I don't want to give up one of the good items I have on one of my islands. Ugh.
The idea that you could do something at basically any time during your turn, that is what makes your mind...
You could take resources from your board and then say, I have a value to cloth, and I'm going to turn that into a coin, but I have to leave that down there until I have room to move it up into my storage area. But now I want to pay for something. So I have the room for that coin, and then I already have maybe a couple of pieces of stone in my ship, but I also have a couple of pieces of stone on one of my peninsula landscapes. And now I could use those things together, because I can't use anything that's in my marketplace, to buy one of my houses, one of my simple buildings. And then that will gives you options, and that help you direct your experience in a different way, can help you direct your abilities in a different way.
There's only 5 rounds in the game, and each round is basically the same. They never change. The setup of the game is always more or less the same. You could have a little bit of options for yourself at the beginning of the game, but nonetheless, everything is absolutely critical. But the first couple of rounds, you just want to accomplish a couple of things to set yourself up for the next rounds. And it really has this nice arc to it. Or maybe from your angle, I should do it like this, right? That in the opening rounds, you can accomplish a little bit, but you never, you could set yourself up. The second and third rounds, absolutely critical. If you fail in those 2 rounds, it's going to be very hard. In the 4th and 5th rounds, this last game I played, I felt like by the 4th and 5th rounds, I could do just about anything I want. I had a whole bunch of cartographer points. My landscapes were very tall. I had some buildings out that were working with my things. I had one of my upgraded hungry workers that was available to do the extra good actions on the board. I felt just sort of like the game was open. Now, the game can be very punishing. In fact, in the first 2 games that I played with my wife, Erica, who also adores this game, by the way. Maybe this channel should be changed to Justin and Erica Games. Huh, that's a thought. Anyway, so when we first played it, we played it twice, and we both got about 15 points, and it was down to like tiebreakers. So the first game, I didn't know how to play it. I knew the rules, but didn't know all the flexibility. Second game, I thought I did way better, but I still only scored 15 points. It's because I wasn't doing things efficiently enough and really going after where you could eke out those points. Then we played 2 more games, and we were getting into the 20s. And once Erica almost got to 30, well, that was like sort of the threshold that we wanted to get to. Can you get 30? Because I heard you can get 40, even more than those many points. I'm thinking, how do you do that? Man, does this game get exciting, tense, when you're getting those last couple rounds, eking everything out and seeing where you can really get some. You want to get every element that you can. And finally, one of us did get 36 points in our last game. Oh man, it was such a relief. And also exciting to know that I still felt that I could have done things better. There were still a couple of times where I overpaid for something. There were still a couple of times when I had to lose a benefit that I could have gained otherwise, and it makes your heart ache. I should have done something a little bit better. Where did I go wrong? It just made me This is one of the very few games where I actually thought about it in my dreams. I woke up from a dream and I was like, that's the way to start in order for me to get to the crate in the first round, to be able to pay for a crate in the first. That's a way for me to get a couple of the big buildings. I've never even built the fortress. Erica built the fortress one time. And then you can get a huge advantage if you can scheme and get everything together. I can't say enough about this game. Talking about islands, if I was on a desert island and they only allowed me to have, 5 games, these two would be the top two in that group. And I don't know which one I would choose higher, to be honest with you. Now, on a side note, I was also excited to learn that the designer loves animals because our family is a huge supporter of animals of any kind in our community. We have a tortoise. My son wants to go into wildlife biology. That's something dear to us. And then I read in the rules and on the side of the box that that's something that's dear to the designer as well. Found out also the designer is a soccer fan. This game, the person who designed it, the artist who made it alive, the companies, Frosted Games and Capstone Games, and I think there are some other companies that are involved in the production as well, or distribution, whatever. This has just basically been an inspiring experience. This is not the top 10 games of, the year or whatever. This for me is top 10 games that I've ever experienced. It is a truly wonderful experience, but it does take repeated plays and a very careful understanding of all the things that you can do to really play this game well. Now, my next once I found out about this game, once I've played this game, now there's another game. I think it's called Solarius Mission, and I'm having a hard time trying to find that game. So it's the next one I want to get, even though we have to still play La Granja, because I know now this designer is dear to my heart, just like the designer. You almost feel like you get closer to the person behind the game and their concerns and the experience that they want you to have, and that to me is one of the most truly, especially for someone like me who's a amateur game designer, a wannabe, so to speak, right? You start to really consider all the things that go into good game development. There is nothing better. I have a bunch of games, none that are behind me, I don't think, but I've bought a bunch of games. Oh, they're on sale. Oh, this thing is $15. This thing is $20. And I get a $15 or $20 experience. These two are invaluable to me. It's not the cost in the dollars; it's the wonderful experience that comes at the end and continues to draw you back in to do something better. That's what I felt with Agra. I kept on every time we would play. There's got to be a better way for me to upgrade my to go through these production buildings to improve the things that I have and for what is needed at the time. Do these two games, and I know that a lot of people don't probably compare these two games, although there's a lot of similarities in my mind to it. Which one would I choose? I would choose both. It's an impossible choice. But for me right now, Cooper Island is just top of the heap in my gaming experience. Okay, I don't want to go on too much further because you already know that if you are interested in probably one of the most challenging game experiences, one of the most rewarding game experiences, and really, to be honest with you, when I was playing with my wife, again, I'll show you Erica, I didn't care who won or lost. I wanted to see, are we able to achieve something? Are we able to really master an efficiency that is uncalled for in gaming that I've seen prior? Yes, it is a tight game in terms of what you're doing. Is it enjoyable? It's probably the most fun I've had at the table in quite a long time. So that's my recommendation. It couldn't be higher.